What do you think tribal sovereignty means in the 21st century, and how do we resolve conflicts between tribes and the federal and state governments?
Yeah. Tribal sovereignty means that it's sovereign. I mean, you've been given sovereignty, and you're viewed as a sovereign entity.
Okay.
And therefore, the relationship between the federal government and tribes is one between sovereign entities.
If he doesn't get another 4 years, that'll be the part I miss.
The Bushisms?
The Bushisms.
So a lot of people want him back, Fez.
They want 4 more years of hell.
They want 4 more years of hell. That's what they're looking for.
That's true, Natasha.
All right, let's talk a little NFL. I picked up this book quite by accident when I was at the bookstore about a week and a half ago. Maybe about a week ago. It's called Fourth and Fixed. I thought, this will be fun, like reading a football novel. You can't always have them. This thing would make a terrific movie, Fez, because the whole thought of fixing an entire season, I think it's everybody's dark dream, something that they'd love to get behind.
Fix the season all the way to the Super Bowl. This is Fourth and Fixed by Reggie Rivers. He's standing by. He's formerly of the Denver Broncos, played 6 seasons in Denver.
Hey, Reggie, welcome to the Ron and Fez Show.
Ron and Fez, what's up, players?
Hey, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. You know what? I was sitting there listening to you guys doing the introduction, and I was thinking what they don't know is that the key to fixing games is tribal sovereignty. Now, I don't know what President Bush was trying to say there, but I got a sense that it has something to do with tribal sovereignty.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. Doesn't it remind you when you're like in the 8th grade and you hear that term you're not really familiar with, so you just keep throwing it back at the teacher?
Exactly. What is tribal sovereignty? Well, the tribes, there were Native American tribes, and sovereignty is an English thing. So, tribal sovereignty is when Native Americans moved to England.
Yeah, just try breaking down the words. Tribal, try, we're all trying, we're attempting.
Bull, that's a bull. That's a male cow.
Exactly.
Hey, your book, Fourth and Fixed. First of all, congratulations on it, my friend.
Thank you.
It's really a lot of fun. You wrote some really great characters here, and I think you came up with something. Well, first of all, I know you must have did a lot of research. Has there ever been anyone caught fixing NFL games?
Yes, there have. I read a great book that you might find interesting by Dan Maldea. It's called Interference, and I think he wrote it back in the 80s. But it was all about games that got fixed back in the 30s and 40s when the mob was really influencing the NFL. Now, in the modern era, I don't think that there have been many people who have been prosecuted for fixing games, and I can't recall since like the 70s or the late 60s anybody even being accused of fixing games.
I know it's happened with like college football,
right?
And I know I watch pro basketball, and I think, come on, I'm not buying your off night. But basically, the sport, especially now, the NFL, is every game is so tight, it doesn't take too much to really change an outcome, right?
There were 2 things that prompted me to write this book, and that was one of them. The first was while I was playing, I learned that there's an organization called NFL Security made up entirely of former FBI agents, and all they do is monitor gambling in all the NFL cities. They watch the betting line, they watch the players, they watch the bookies, and they're trying to see what's going on. The second thing was that I started looking at statistics, and I saw one that said that 50% of all NFL games are decided by 7 points or fewer. And I started thinking, wow, that's a phenomenally high number, more than I expected. So then, if you can find a way to put 7 points on the board or take 7 points off, you've got a shot at changing the outcome of the game. And so those 2 thoughts together kind of got me on the track of, what if a crime family figured out how to fix some games and stay under the NFL's radar?
And you really came up with I won't give away too much here, but you've got really probably 2 genius characters in the book. Has anybody approached you yet about doing this as a film?
No one has yet, but I do have an agent who's trying to sell film rights.
Because I got news for you. There's at least 2 different characters that every young person acting today would love to get a hold of those parts. And I don't know whether it's your writing style, but I was even picturing a lot of it in my mind, because you could really chew up some scenery with this.
Did you have anyone in mind when you were writing those characters, Reggie? Like the cocky, rich Texas owner?
I don't have I actually do have a picture here that I don't even know who this guy is. I think he's a jockey. But it's a picture of this jockey standing there with a saddle in his hand. He's got his shirt off, and he just looks like this little emaciated thing, but he has this arrogant look on his face. And so my football, or the owner of the team, the Jonathan Kinnison, he doesn't look anything like this jockey, but every time I was writing about him, I would look at this picture, and it would make me think of the attitude that he had.
Now, you played, how long, 5 years with the Broncos?
I played 6 years.
6 years with the Broncos. One of the things that comes up in your book is that a lot of guys are playing, and we as fans don't always pick up on this, but so much stress and almost terrified about making mistakes, right?
Right.
During the season. What's the pressure like to be an NFL player? What is your biggest fear?
I think for most guys have a level of performance anxiety.
Right.
The biggest fear is making a mistake on the field and being embarrassed. In fact, before you guys called, I was sitting here watching ESPN. They're having the 25 biggest chokes in sports history. And they're just showing guys who are at the top of their game. They made it to the championship level. They're right there about to close the deal, and something goes wrong, and they choked. And here it is, years and years later, they turn on ESPN, and there they are again, choking.
Yeah.
I know that for players, that's one of the things they're terrified of. They don't want to see their mistakes on Inside the NFL and Sports Center, read about it in Sports Illustrated. They want to see all the glory moments. And so there's a lot of stress about just performance, because every time you go on the field, you got a huge audience watching you in person, on TV. The coaches are filming every play, and you're going to watch it from two angles, an end zone angle and a sideline angle the next day. Every practice is filmed. And so, you go to work, and every day your boss has what you did at work on tape.
And is so much of it because you guys were such great athletes ever since you were a little kid? I guess it came easy to a lot of those players until finally you're in the NFL, and it's not as easy.
Yeah, I think for most players, like this weekend, John Elway got inducted into the Hall of Fame. John Elway is such an anomaly in pro sports. You have your players who are like that, who are incredible athletes in high school, the best of the best in high school, the best of the best in college, and then the best of the best in the NFL. But for most guys, that's not really the track that they take. They come along, they develop their ability, they get better and better, but there's a lot of pressure and expectations that comes as they get better, and it's not so easy for them. They have to work pretty hard to try to be better than the guys who's lined up across from them. And so having to work that hard, wanting to keep this paycheck, as the money gets bigger, so does the pressure. You guys just got Clinton Portis. He is a great running back, legitimate 2,000-yard contender, but all of a sudden he got a $17 million signing bonus. There's a lot of expectations about the $17 million, and I'm sure he's going to feel it.
How does the rest of the team feel, too, when you get a guy who's paid so much more?
Jealous.
Yeah, is there jealousy all the time?
Yeah. Not jealousy like, ooh, I hate him. Just jealousy like, why can't I get some of that?
Right.
And I think players, you get into the NFL, and the players bond together because they have more in common with each other than they have with anybody else. And it's hard to begrudge a guy who got a good deal. He's sitting next to you. You wish you had that same deal. But, hey, more power to him if you got it. I just hope that when my contract is up, I can do it, too.
Right.
We're talking to Reggie Rivers. His novel is Fourth and Fix, about fixing an entire NFL season with gambling. Reggie, how was your book received by your peers? Did they say, like, hey, Reggie, let's not bring in gambling about, in the NFL?
Yeah, well, my peers who are players, everybody I've talked to about this book, they say, man, that sounds cool. I want to read it. I haven't really talked to anybody like with the NFL hierarchy. I'm sure they're not as enthusiastic about it. But it's a novel, and it touches on something that obviously is of critical importance to the NFL, because the NFL has a love-hate relationship with gambling. On the one hand, it's terrified of ever seeing its games manipulated and the integrity of the game suffering. On the other hand, it loves the fact that so many people gamble on NFL games because it increases viewership. it supports and loves fantasy football, which is just another form of gambling because it increases the viewership, which increases the television revenue. And those last contracts with the TV networks were $17.6 billion over 8 years and likely to be more next time. So the NFL doesn't want to stop people from gambling on games. It just wants to keep the games free of influence.
And they really don't want anybody bringing up what the over-under is during the games on television. They want them to stay away from talking about the spread. Yet at the same time, you will not turn off a game if you have money on it. I don't care what the deal is. You will stick right into the last second with that game.
Those Fox guys, Jimmy Johnson will let something, slip and say favored by 7, and the other 3 will just stare at him.
Exactly. And it's true. And, you're right that people will stay tuned in if they got money riding on the game. I had a talk with a guy who used to run the sports book at Caesar's Palace for 12 years, or 14 years, I can't remember. But he was telling me one of the big keys on how much money will be laid down on a game is if it's televised, which is part of the reason so much more money is wagered on NFL games. Every single NFL game is televised. Now, there are some local blackouts, but you can go somewhere and find a way to watch every single NFL game.
Right.
And just televising a game doubles the amount of money that'll be bet on it because gamblers want to be able to sit there and watch every single second of that game.
So the Monday night game is probably the most bet game of the week, right?
I didn't ask him that, but I would bet that it is.
Because that's the national game. And I know when you're gambling, if it seems to me like if you're winning, you try to bet that Monday night game to kind of double up. If you have a tough weekend, you try to get some of your money back on Monday night.
Right.
As bad as some of those games are during the season, it's too damn attractive to pass up.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, the name of the book is Fourth and Fixed. Reggie, best of luck to you. Reggie Rivers on with us. Great book. You going to write another one, or is...
I am. I'm working on it. This is a concept that will seem so foreign to you guys.
Yeah.
I'm writing a book about a feud between a sports columnist and a player.
Ah.
Yeah, that never happens.
Yeah.
And it keeps escalating until somebody gets killed.
All right, I have an idea for the book. You ready for this? For a book? Murder at the Super Bowl. That's all I can think of.
Ooh.
You run with it from there. I don't know what else to do with it.
All right, I'll get you your royalties when it's done.
Just put my name, even on the bottom. You can go first. Reggie Rivers, Fourth and Fixed, new book out. Thanks so much, Reggie.
Hey, thank you.
Take care, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Reggie. It's available at Amazon.com and bookstores everywhere.
Wouldn't you love to write a book just to say, oh, that's my book? I've written a book.
Yeah, just to do it.
Not to do it, not the actual do, to having done it. That would be the fun part. Not just like, oh, this is fun writing it. I would like later, well, at least I've written a book. You know what I mean? I would be in arguments all the time going like this. Well, Dubs, have you ever written a book before?
I would just...
Then shut up. Then shut up if you haven't written a book. Because I have. Listen, that's me dropping my book.
Okay.
See? You can win any argument. You get away with anything.
It's just so nice to be able to say sentences like, well, I remember when my book came out.
I was on my book tour. See, I'd rather do a book tour than write a book. I would love to sign the book. And most of the people that say they write books, they don't. Every athlete who says, this is a novel. The whole bios about your life, those people aren't writing it.
Well, those always include the phrase, as told by, or told to.
Right.
As told to in the title.
Over the phone while the guy's sitting on the toilet. He's telling his stories. And somebody actually makes it better. Let's take a break here, Fezzi. We'll be back in just a few moments. Your chance to pick up some of the power cards. Let's do it again. Give us a call if you want power cards when you come out and see us this Thursday night at Dave & Buster's. It's going to be a lot of fun. 866-277-4969. 866-277-4969. You pick up the power cards. You can play some of the video games free at Dave & Buster. 866-277-4969. We'll be right back. It's the Ron and Fez Show.